not be a country of division, of hate, or of tribalism. We want a strong Congo, strong in its cultural diversity and its dedication to its motherland. A Congo focused on its development, peace and security. A Congo for everyone, where everyone has their place.
Let's now bring in Rosie Collier. She's a journalist at France 24's sister radio station. That's RFI English. She's been monitoring events in the DRC for us over the past days. Rosie, thanks again for joining us here on set.
Thank you for having me.
Now, that inauguration ceremony that we were just speaking about, it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it?
No, unfortunately not for Felix Tshisekedi. He fell ill partway through the speech. He had to get down from the podium, presumably get taken care of, but then did return. And then what the Reuters news agency is reporting that is that it was just all a bit too much for him emotionally, the moment, apparently, what some sources close to him are saying. And then also that it's been a long and winding road of campaigning these last few months, and so just apparently exhausted, but not a great start, because that's obviously got tongues wagging furiously as to whether he's physically up to the job.
And that brings us to the next question, Rosie. What is next for the former leader whose name keeps coming up again and again, Joseph Kabila? Will he be, and this is the big question, this is a fear that's been expressed by the Catholic Church in the country, will he be sort of pulling the strings from behind the curtains?
Camilla, that's what's been alleged pretty much ever since it transpired that Tshisekedi was going to be named winner by the Election Commission, that it was basically a deal struck between Kabila and Tshisekedi, although there's no proof or evidence of that. But the question is, how independent is Tshisekedi? I mean, just in the last few minutes, practically, I know that Kabila has been showing the Tshisekedi's around the palace, and obviously he's getting ready to leave himself. But Kabila will be a senator for life, which means that he's not leaving politics altogether. He'll be a senator. He'll also have access to a larger security detail. And then we also have to remember that he made some interesting appointments in the last couple of years in power, Joseph Kabila, and that was he appointed the head of the Constitutional Court. That's the most powerful court in the land, and then also the chief of the army. So will those two men, who presumably are very loyal to Kabila, keep their post, or will Tshisekedi bring in his own people? It's not clear yet just how much he's going to do to sort of stamp his mark of identity, Felix Tshisekedi, on his presidency.
So perhaps a historic day because it was a rather peaceful transition of power, but as to whether Joseph Kabila will actually continue to run the country from the outside remains to be seen. Well, Rosie Collier of RFI English, thank you so much again for joining us. Now, after weeks of waiting and hoping, Carlos Ghosn has resigned as chairman and chief executive of Renault. The car giant had stood by him since his arrest in Japan 2 months ago, but Ghosn's legal troubles began to threaten the company's relationship with the Japanese automakers Nissan and Mitsubishi Motors. Now, outgoing Michelin boss, that's Jean-Dominique Senard, has been named chairman, and Ghosn's deputy, Thierry Bolloré, as chief executive. Charlie Sigbon.
A man who headed until recently tire maker Michelin. Their common goal, saving the alliance with Nissan and Mitsubishi. Something that's also crucial for the French government, which holds 15% of Renault.
There is the challenge of autonomous cars and of electric cars. Only companies with massive development funds will be able to meet that challenge.
Renault took a stake in Nissan in 1999 when the Japanese car maker was on the brink of bankruptcy. Their alliance allows them to save some 5.5 billion euros per year through their common platforms, purchasing and development. But their partnership is not an equal one. Renault holds 43% of Nissan, which enables it to vote on board decisions, while Nissan holds 15% of Renault. This distribution was decided when Nissan was weaker than Renault, but the Japanese carmaker has turned around the situation, producing more than the French brand, and its leaders want to review the deal.
Over to Venezuela, where the political crisis has been escalating since opposition leader Juan Guaido declared himself interim president on Wednesday. This following violence that has killed at least 13 people this week. Guaido has won backing from the United States and governments across Latin America, while the leadership of Moscow was quick to come out in support of Nicolás Maduro, the country's leader since 2013, who's also won the support of the country's defense minister. Let's now bring in our world affairs commentator, Doug Herbert. Doug, thank you again for joining us. I just mentioned we heard from the defense minister who's come out in support of Maduro, calling him a legitimate president. Surely this is just going to add more fuel to the fire.
Well, first of all, you know, I was saying earlier in one of our earlier shows, all eyes on the military, because the military, ultimately the armed forces, have tended to be sort of the arbiters in these types of disputes. You'll remember the protests back in 2017. It was thanks really to the support, the firm support of security forces, i.e. also the military, that Maduro was able to see off in a very bloody manner, you know, over 160 deaths in those protests, the uprising against him, that popular uprising. Whether that will happen this time, people are saying, well, look to the military. Is there something fundamentally different that might change minds in the military? What we saw today, just a short while ago, was essentially the defense minister saying exactly that, calling what we've seen, this self-proclamation of being president by the opposition leader, as a coup against what he said called President Maduro, seeing it as illegitimate, you know, this declaration, the self-proclamation of being president. What's interesting, though, this is the upper brass of the military, right? The defense minister. Remember, you know, the rank and file of the armed forces, you can't read their minds, obviously, but, you know, they have tended